discuss Married to Medicine and why everyone is Team Quad. So the episode that just dropped, it's season 11, episode 17, reunion part 2. This episode ended with a major fight between Simone and Quad. It has been teased almost all season since the reunion has been filmed. And I have a lot of thoughts. My favorite part about being a Bravo aficionado is once I'm done watching the episode, I go online. I read what everybody else is seeing, see if everyone is thinking what I'm thinking, or if they're seeing something I'm missing. Tell me why everybody online I feel like I'm disagreeing with. And the worst part is I feel like I'm going crazy, but I feel like I'm in the right. So anyways, that's what compelled me to turn on the camera and break down my point of view of what is going on currently with the Married to Medicine cast. But I don't like long intros, but I do want to, do a little bit of housekeeping before we get into everything. Well, first of all, before we get into everything, let's set an agenda. So, there's four main points I want to talk about. One, let's discuss what even is the main pain point between Simone and Quad. And I'll touch on that. Next, we're going to touch on the group ousting Mariah Huq and her comments about it on the Carlos King podcast. I feel like that's combo thing that's like 1.5. The second point I'm going to talk about, let's discuss Quad and Greg, where they currently stand on the show in present time, but what the perception was in the past. I think we're kind of losing a little historical context there. And then the final point, and this is what I'm actually serious about, we need to discuss Phaedra Park's comments about the Married to Medicine cast, because y'all are letting her get away with too much in my opinion, and I'm not gonna let my girls go out like that. So that is what I'm going to be discussing in this video. But before we get into it, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. One, I don't know how to edit, so this is going to be a stream of consciousness. I'm going to try to keep it succinct and try not to belabor any points. Actually, I made this video the day the episode dropped, and as I was recording it, randomly my camera stopped working. Can you believe it? And I lost all the footage, but I mean, the thoughts are all in my mind, and I feel like I got it out the first time. Hopefully the second time I'm gonna be a little clearer. Also, I'm in my guest bedroom. Actually, this is a chalk wall, so whenever friends and family and they all have kids, they love to doodle on it, which is why my background looks crazy. I also have the fan going, and so sometimes the fan blows my hair into my face and it tickles my nose, and I don't even know how to cut out parts of me fidgeting, but I get a little self-conscious about it, so I want to preface y'all don't hold it against me. Also, I'm filming on my iPad, so I'm looking at me. I feel like I probably should be looking at the camera, but that's not natural for me. Anyways, this is not really that much of a visual appeal video. It's more of an audio experience, if anything. And my final point is, I believe in speaking out of fact. I didn't go back and rewatch the entire show, mind you, but I do feel like I have a pretty solid recollection memory wise, and but if there's anything I misspeak about, or if I get a fact wrong, please fact check me. I'm not trying to spread misinformation. And my last thing I want to say before we get into the points I mentioned earlier is a little bit of background on me. Let me state my credentials a bit. I've been into Married to Medicine for forever. If season 7 was the quarantine episode, I was into it before then. That's all I know. Although I really can't date it. I love this show. And so because I feel like I was, I'm not I wasn't a fan into the show early on. They were 6 seasons into it. However, I do feel like I've seen enough dramatic change in fan opinion and perception, and it's really fascinating. You know, like I was there when people loved Quad, hated Quad. Now we're back to loving Quad. It's very unique for her, y'all. So, and the reason why I'm stating all this is I do think that, you know, the present opinion is, once again, just the opinion in the present. And I do think that, like, I'm able to somewhat glean a little bit of historical context. And what's awesome about these ladies, but also what's a little complicated with them, is that, you know, history does constantly keep, you know, rearing its ugly head. And so I want to continue, you know, providing that context. So yeah, let's get into it. So I'm going to start off with my first point. Let's discuss Simone and Quad. What is even going on between them? You know, episode 1 of the reunion, so 16. Once again, it starts off with Simone and Quad going at each other. Episode 17 ends with them, once again, going at each other. And I feel like the number one question I'm seeing on social media, I don't know if it's necessarily a real question or it's probably rhetorical, right? Is what are they even fighting about? And I would like to answer that question. I know it's rhetorical, but let's just answer it, right? For fun. So first of all, it's the beef is one-sided. I'm team cool with Simone, but let's be honest, it's on Simone's side of things. I think okay, so like basically, what I think is really unique about the Married2Medicine cast that actually works better than Housewives is that because like and I'm saying this from personal experience, if you know doctors in any city, small or big, the doctor community, regardless of how big the city is, it's very much a small a tight-knit community. And so because all these women are like either married or working in these communities, by default, they like every time they fight, they kind of have to like get over it so that way they can they could just like coexist naturally. And it's like, you know, like you could keep it cordial with people, but if you're seeing somebody on a year-to-year basis multiple times outside of filming, you know, you just get tired of yourself holding a grudge. So I think, and like, we're all adults, and it's like, you're not trying to make like your husband uncomfortable either. And so you eventually as an adult learn to let things go, let some disrespect slide, let, you know, like you come back from things you didn't even know you were capable of. However, what's unique about Quad, and mind you, like Toya, like she has to get over things. Eugene's a doctor, Heavenly's a doctor, Jackie's a doctor, Simone's a doctor, Contessa's a doctor, like, right? So they're all in these circles frequenting these events. What's unique about Quad, though, is that because she doesn't have any connection to the medical world, she's in a unique position of she doesn't really hang out with the cast or try with the cast outside of the show. And that is Simone's pain point. Y'all, it took me forever to get there, huh? But yeah, no, that's the core of Simone's issue. Basically, back in season 2 to 4, I think Simone was like, first of all, season 2 is when Quad fell out with Mariah, and Simone fell out with Mariah on a separate issue, because Simone was like, Mariah thinks she's queen bee, she's not really trying, whatever. And so what I'm trying to say is, like, during that time where like everyone's now starting to turn on Mariah, and they're like kind of trying to put her in her place, like, your EP credit means nothing to us. At that same time, they became super close with Quad. You know, like they were going, I mean, they went on the journey to find her dad together. Like when Quad was losing her dad, like Jackie and Simone really rallied around her. Like they created this natural, deep bond. And on top of that, this is where I'm going to go off camera and check the sniffles a little. But then, you know, at some point, and I think season 5 is when once her marriage was in trouble, I think Jackie and Simone expected Quad to lean on them in that instance. They're like, we're on a show together. Like, Jackie's open about her marriage problems. Simone's open about her marriage problems, right? Like, they're all being more vulnerable than they probably want to be. But on top of that, it's like, we're able to be this vulnerable around you, Quad, because there's an established friendship vulnerability there. There's a sense of inherent trust and interest, but it's also a mutual exchange of vulnerability. And so the reason why I'm bringing that up is I see often online people are saying, you don't owe your friends your business. What are we talking about? Honestly, I would willingly choose to shut off my vulnerability to someone if I feel like all I'm doing is spilling my guts to you. This is all that's going wrong with my life. These are all my fears. This is like, you know, what all the chaos in my life, and you don't give any, and you just reciprocate with walls, with not confiding in me, but I'm confiding in you. I'm finding out more information from social media, from the streets, from like a friend of a friend who I'm like, we used to be closer than you with that friend. Why is she telling me all your stuff? Like, that would hurt my feelings. And it wouldn't just, it wouldn't just be like, oh, let me distance myself. It would start breeding resentment. And so that's, I think, Simone's biggest gripe is that during the time where, you know, she and Jackie are going through something traumatic, they're opening up and they're expecting Quad to be a part of that network and support system. Quad is similarly going through something traumatic, but they're not really finding out details like from her. They're finding out from like in a roundabout way, or whenever she shows up on camera at these group events. Like, they're not really in communication like that. And so once somebody does that, but then like you start side-eyeing them a little, or it starts breeding resentment, and you just kind of feel a little like slighted, like, why don't you trust me on that level? Okay. And then, you know, she divorced Greg and, you know, like moved on with her life, tried to pick up the pieces. So like, say that they were able to let it go about her having walls. Say it was just like she was going through a divorce, was going through a hard time. Like, you like understand not everybody's going to be open. Like, some people put up walls in those situations. I think they would have been able to get over those walls if Quad didn't continue to maintain the walls. Like, you know, since then, since season 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they have been telling Quad, you don't try with us off camera. Off season, you don't hang out with us. On top of that, I think in Simone's specific case, because I don't want to seem like I'm lumping Jackie in on this. I think Jackie initially felt that way. But I think after season 6, she was like, no, girl, you don't have to tell me twice. I get it. Like, you're here, I'm here. Our friendship, it's not going to get back to where it was. And I think Jackie, unless she's confiding and gassing Simone up behind the scenes, I kind of feel like Jackie doesn't care if she and Quad don't become buddy again. Yeah, I think Jackie is happy with, you know, being close friends with Simone, especially like since they have a lot in common work-wise. She's besties with Heavenly. And she's cordial with the rest of the cast, and I think she's good on that. I'm kind of okay with Jackie in that position too, unfortunately, guys. Like, I know people don't like Dr. Jackie. I just think, like, regardless of how you feel about her, her medical opinions or her bedside manner, whatever the case may be, what she has done as a symbol, and just like, she elevates the show. She is an it girl. Like, I feel like people are like, I would never go to Dr. Jackie. I'm be like, but could you even book an appointment with Dr. Jackie? Like, she's not worried about, about it. Okay. Anyways, getting back to the topic at hand. So, Dr. Jackie, I feel like and I don't think she's production's pet either. I think Dr. Jackie's like, my presence is elevating the show. Like, I don't need to work that hard. You guys being able to use my name on the title credits, that's enough for me to participate. And hey, she's not exactly wrong. And also, I feel like there's plenty of other, like, white, like, reality Bravo stars that don't do anything, and people give them a pass. Like, them just, like, clocking in and offering their aura is enough. I think that's the case with Jackie, and I think we could be okay with that. I didn't mean to get into that tangent, but let's get back to the topic at hand. Let's get into Simone again. But I think Simone, she is a production pet. I think Simone and Cecil, like, honestly, the show is their baby. And I feel like their marriage survival is based on the survival of the show. I feel like it's just, like, a safe topic and something that they're both, like, it's a project that they're both, like, uber invested in. And so because of that, I think, I know Simone has mentioned it in multiple seasons. I text you, Quad. I reach out to you. I want to grab lunch. I want to try, like, okay, like, I want to try repairing the friendship. I'm telling you, my issue with you for the last few years, it hasn't changed, is that you're only friends with us to appear to be friends with us to maintain your position on this show. And she's like, nobody else on the cast is doing that. We're actually all legitimately friends. So, like, like, we're not pretending to be friends for the cameras. We're, like, friends for real. And, like, at some point, Quad, like, you were genuinely interested and invested with us. Like, I'm willing to initiate. Like, you just have to, like, match my energy, and we can see if we can rebuild a point where I feel that we're at least, like, more than coworkers, like, like, that I feel positive interacting with you on some type of friendship level. Like, I feel like even when the cast hates each other, there's this inherent, like, you can tell that they're inherently friends. Like back when, like, I feel like the entire cast at some point has fought with Toya, but I feel like deep down they all, like, still, like, they rock with Toya on a social level still. Like, there's just that inherent, like, trust and bond there. And I think on Simone's end, she's been saying to Quad, you haven't nurtured our bond and neglected it for so many years, and now it's getting to the point where, like, I think Quad keeps bringing it up, like, we have history, I was there for you, like, you know me, all this stuff. And that, like, like, why isn't that enough? Like, I show up, and when I do, I'm authentically here. Like, I might not be able to give you more time than this, but, like, the time that I'm giving you, it's like I'm doing my best to, like, rise to the occasion as a friend. And I think Simone is, and I think she ended the last episode saying this, where Quad was like, what do you mean I have been a good friend to you? Like, I was there for you and I helped find your dad, all of that. And Simone responds with saying, well, yeah, because it was on camera. You only do stuff for me when it's on camera. When have you ever done anything else? And I felt like that is Simone's point. I am tired of, like, I think she was just like, she hates the fact that, like, for a while, Quad thought she could just walk into this room, not try with the ladies at all, not cultivate this group dynamic, and still feel like she can run this show however she wants. And Simone was like, you know, she's production's pet. She's like, this is my baby. I put in so many hours making sure that, like, Heavenly and Contessa could be in the same room together. Like, I've invested blood, sweat, and tears into this show, too. So, like, your attitude and how you show up as a coworker, it's, like, it's half-assed. And I think she's just, like, I think even at this point, someone's kind of like, I've kind of given up on trying to be friends with you. But, like, I don't even really think I care about working with you like that. I think that is the root of the information. And to be honest, the facts support Simone more. However, at this point, I do think Simone needs to adopt a little bit of Jackie attitude in the sense of, like, see if you can make it work with Quad with the present reality Quad is giving you. Like, I don't think there's a reality of you texting and grabbing lunch with her off camera. Like, because the thing is, like, Quad seems to be doing that naturally with Heavenly. She was doing that naturally with Phaedra. I can even imagine her doing that with Toya, because, you know, Toya's just everybody's girl. I think it's also like, Simone, like, I don't know if you're that fun and she wants to grab lunch with you. And I do think that idea is also probably offensive to Simone, because she also knows that, like, Simone's a little miserable lately. A little. You know what I'm saying? But the crux of it is everybody's like, Team Quad, what is Simone on? I'm like, what are you guys on? It can't be more clear than this. I'm looking at the time. I spoke 15 minutes on this topic. Yeah. But anyways, my final point on this topic before I wrap it up is I don't think Simone intentionally, I really don't think that the gang up was supposed to lead to kicking Quad out of Napa. I do think Simone was just kind of on a power trip and, like, was in a, like, she was in a bad mood. She was like, let me just get Quad for sure. Like, let me make an example out of this moment. But I honestly think y'all could stay mad about that, but that was a catalyst that Quad needed. Like, beforehand, Quad was not engaging in the show. Like, I feel like, do people not remember? People were literally, since season 8, 9, part of 10, people were cheering that Quad was leaving. People were saying she hasn't given anything to the show. They were begging for her to be a friend of. She got demoted. They were like, good. Do we even need her at all? Like, her job has been on the line for forever by the fans. And, like, honestly, she was kind of being saved and rescued a lot by Heavenly. Probably a little bit by Simone behind the scenes, too. And Simone's like, I'm done saving your ass. Like, why don't you actually just try? So yeah, like, everyone's like, now Quad is playing the perpetual victim with the Martha Vineyards card. I was like, that honestly saved your job, because now you have a reason to be a victim. You finally have motivation to try, and, like, that consequence was a wake-up call. Like, mind you, I wouldn't thank nobody for kicking me off a trip either. But I'm saying that, like, there was a hidden blessing there that, and I think, like, Quad said, like, I mean, Quad got her apology this season. I feel like, and I think Quad's kind of being able to bury things. But I do think that, like, when they were in the back room and Quad was just going on and on about, like, just, I think she was just, like, talking her shit and, like, puffing up her chest, Simone was like, I need to check this attitude, because what are you talking about, girl? Like, which leads me to the second point. But before I get there, I have noticed that everybody online has been saying, talking about the famous quote that Mariah Huq gave to Carlos King, saying that like the group gang up was like, you know, it's been a thing, like the Mean Girls rallied together, you know, Heavenly, Quad, Jackie, and Simone, and then Simone put the nail in my coffin. Mind you, that's not exactly what she said. I'm paraphrasing a lot. And then she got kicked off the show. Y'all, I feel like, once again, this is people on social media rewriting history. Like, I was, like, being someone who was there at the time, like, it didn't go down like that. First of all, Quad and Mariah had separate issues outside of the girls. Quad was the first one to have issues with the girls. Actually, people were getting mad at Simone because they all felt that she picked Quad over Mariah. And then, on top of that, one second. Mariah and Heavenly never got along. That's because Heavenly has this weird sister complex with Mariah. Mariah won every single time against her. And then Mariah was like, you know what? I need to undercut Jackie and Simone. And she was like, I don't know if I necessarily want to engage with Simone. And she was like, I know Jackie is not going to be ready for my attack. And so she was the only one brave enough to actually go at Jackie. Shout out to her. One second. And then, shockingly, Mariah and Toya started off bad, but I remember in season 5, when Mariah hosted that Mother's Day lunch, and she gifted Toya the award of, like, and it was direct shade to Heavenly. At that time, though, when Mariah was ending the show, she actually had good friends in Toya and Simone, but then in season 6, I forgot, I think maybe Toya and Mariah might have fell out again. Y'all forget, like, Mariah is problematic. Like, Quad and her theatrics are entertaining and they're fun on the show. I think that's why the cast is a good sport about it, but they are often exhausted about it because they know that these girls are just over talking them, like overreacting a little, and like you can't really get in a word edgewise without, you know, like creating, like without like getting into something deeper than you want to. So yeah, because I feel like oftentimes, like when, you know, like Quad is giving her monologue, Jackie's like, girl, do your thing and let's move on. So anyways, all this to say, the reason why Mariah is saying Simone had to put the nail in her coffin is because Simone was her last ally. Once Simone put the coffin into Mariah, basically saying, you know what, screw you, Mariah. She was Mariah's last lifeline. She was her only friend left on the show. That was her only ally. So yeah, like at some point, like Mariah did pick the other girls, which included Quad. And it wasn't, I don't know if it was necessarily Mariah's idea to kick. I mean, it wasn't necessarily Simone's idea to kick out the girls. I think it was brewing for a while, and eventually Simone just thought that the show didn't really need Mariah anymore and just didn't want the drama with the other folks and let Mariah hang out to dry. I think that's a case of Simone backing Quad. What are we talking about? Like, you know, like that's it. You know, that is also another case of her. Sorry, my napkin flew into the wind. But that's another case of, like, you know, like, some, I don't think Simone's having Quad's back, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just proof of, like, Simone's a well-known producer's pet. I mean, come on. Also, people go on Simone for being a producer's pet because, I mean, she's actually, like, somewhat good at it. Cecil Cecil is far worse. I feel like so many people get mad at like the girl's ego, like claiming the show, like I'm the queen bee, I'm the head. Cecil thinks he runs, and he gets away with it. And I guess like that's his toy, so like they don't want to hurt his feelings. I'm not gonna do more damage than that. So yeah, anyways, in this instance, I am Team Quad. I'm Team Simone. I think between Simone and Quad, I think long story short, like Simone's right, Quad doesn't try with them. She doesn't authentically try with them. And I think she's in the right, but I also think it's Simone's job to get over it. Like, Quad's not going to do more than that. Like, at this point, like, you whined about it for 5 years. Suck it up. Move on. All right. Let's get into Quad and Greg. So, Quad and Greg. Ooh, first of all, I want to say, there's never an excuse for abuse in any form. And I'm never going to justify it. I'm never going to approve of it. I'm never going to condone it. It's wrong. Wrong, point blank, period. That being said, this show is for adults. And oftentimes situations with adults, they're even black and white situations, do contain a sense of nuance. I mean, that's the human experience, right? And so sometimes when I'm talking about this situation, I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm just, I'm adding the human reality back into the conversation. And I think as adults, as adults, we should be able to handle heavy topics without necessarily it always, being wrapped up in a cute bow. That's my disclaimer. But if I get tore up, I get tore up. I'm a big girl. I can handle it. Alrighty. So I feel like everybody is playing dumb when they're like, why was Greg and T even asked back? Why were Greg and T asked back? Because honestly, it almost seemed like a reality TV gold mine. I think initially when they added them back, they gave a sense of like almost cartoon villainry in our mind, right? Like Greg is this Dr. Evil with like this squeaky voice, and now he married a young hot new thing, and this girl seemed like, oh, she's from Texas and she's so sweet, and like she's vibey with age gaps, and she's 30 and all the girls are like much older. Like she'll add this youthful energy. She'll be able to hopefully she'll be able to engage with the girls, and they'll either can't help but like her, or she just won't take from them, and it's going to kind of be fun to watch her at least keep up with them in a witty manner. I think that's really what everybody kind of expected it. I mean, honestly, the first season that they were on, they had so much fun with the storyline, with the bachelorette party and the bridal shower, and sitting down and talking to T. Heavenly did warn T, listen, I've talked to Quad about Greg, her experience with Greg. Stay vigilant. That's what she said. Bare minimum. That's the least she could have said. Right? But I think when people are acting like, I don't know why production would ever invite them back. I think, honestly, I think even Quad was, at a point where she was over Greg. And, I think at the time when she said yes, it was almost the thought of it was just almost so funny and such an easy slam dunk that I feel like she said, I feel like the whole cast was just on board. Production was on board. Greg was on board. They did not think it would devolve into as something as dark as it is. I think I think at the time everyone felt like we're all kind of in on how ludicrous the scenario is, and we could just play it up and have fun with it, I don't think they were intending to brawl and all of a sudden have a PSA warning. I don't think it was ever supposed to be that deep. And then on top of that, honestly, I think Greg and T kind of gave Quad like a catalyst to come. Like that was like another catalyst that helped her kind of like resurge back onto the show, have a reason to engage with the cast, have a new storyline, create some messy fun, like, with the coffin or popping up at the bridal shower. Like, she started being able to, like, it was just such an easy way for her to, have space for her theatrics and be funny and be witty, and, like, it wasn't supposed to be this negative. So when people are acting like, I would have never brought Dr. Greg back. Well, like, I feel like if you had thought it would only just be cartoonish and comical and lighthearted, you would too. I feel like the entire cast felt that. And I also think, thinking back to the fight that Simone had with a Quad, I think that was the second point where she said, this is your karma, meaning, like, Greg has stayed around us. He is a doctor in the community, so he's friends with all the boys. Like, they've kept in contact with them. And then on top of that, like, at some point, if all you show is that you value the show, and you don't really care about us outside the show, that is your karma. Because now, like, obviously we're not going to consider your feelings on a deeper level than ratings, then how does this benefit our job, our career, like, like, at this point, if you seem like you were good with it, I'm assuming you're good from it, and I'm treating it more of as like a teamwork from a castmate standpoint, not from a friendship level. Mind you, Simone's not conveying it like this. She's yelling at the girl, and she shouldn't be. And then also, I want to provide a little historical context between Quad and Greg. When Quad and Greg happened, when did Quad and Greg happen? Okay, it wasn't season 1. Actually, it wasn't season 1, because that was when Carrie and her had that tiff. Like, anyways, I remember when Quad and Greg got together, like, they're married at this point, and I'm feeling like it's season 2, 3, maybe 4. I think the whole time when Quad was with Greg, before things got really bad, mind you, we found out how bad things got season 6 and the final part of the reunion. And then up to that point, we had some idea, but I remember from the audience perspective, we felt like Quad got with Greg exclusively as an opportunist. I still kind of hold that opinion, y'all. I think she got with Greg because, like, he was interested he was into her more than she was into him. He was a doctor. They were able to get on the show. He seemed easy to get along with at first. I think she just thought, I can enter this lighthearted marriage, use it for all it's worth, and then dip. You know what I mean? It always kind of gave that. It kind of, like, I don't know. I think everybody kind of always felt like Quad is a wee bit of a social climber. I don't think she is anymore. But I think early on, Quad, especially to fit in with the girls and to get on the show, like, I think when she was trying to settle into her dream life, was kind of giving social climber. Not mad at it, but, calling it like I see it. So the reason why I'm saying this is that, like, I remember in season 4 and 5, like, whenever Quad would talk about her issues with Greg, I think one of the issues was Greg would keep pushing for her to have a baby, and she would keep pushing back that she didn't want to have a baby. First of all, smart girl for knowing, I can't bring a baby into this mess. good, like, that takes courage to do. Like, I'm being so serious on that. But I think that, like, the other girls were kind of hounding her, like, once again, Simone, too, was like, they were all hounding her, like, you need to give Greg a baby. I think part of the reason why they were doing that is they kind of felt like, well, you married him without ever having the intention of taking this marriage seriously. Like, you were never seriously gonna give him a baby. You just, like, married him to get what you, like, everything you could from this relationship, but, like, you've always kind of planned the exit. Like, the exit door was always open, always in sight. Like, you were kind of always gonna head that way, like, regardless of how good Greg could be, right? And on top of that, I think, yeah, and I think, like, it was kind of like Quad just didn't love him. Like, she, like, was using him. And, I mean, now that we know Greg, it's like, he's the dude that you need to use him for all he's worth. You know what I mean? He needs to get used. But at that time, it was just, like, so apparent that it was just, like, it was, like, interesting because we'd see all these monologues of Quad talking about how sad she is, or like, how deeply she was in love with this man, but, like, he's putting her through this hell. And then I think everyone was kind of like, no, that's not true. What it is you married this man thinking he would be easy to use up and, like, and things wouldn't be this miserable, but you got. He played you, basically. And then, and the reason where I'm also going to head with this is that I kind of do think, Quad, while she did, like, I don't think she ever fully loved Greg. I think she just, like, I just think she was young, and I think she just needed, like, I just think at the time she felt like she had no other option. This felt safe, this felt smart, this felt like what she needed to do, right? Until she figured out her next step in life. I think no one could have ever prepared her for how dark the marriage got and how fast it got, and that I will always have endless empathy for. And I think that is why, like, I truly think Greg he fully traumatized her. I don't think she was expecting the level of verbal abuse, how exhausting it is to deal with such a needy man, to deal with such a small man. You know what I'm saying? I don't think as soon as when she started actually getting fed up and having reasons to leave, I don't think she was expecting how, like, violent things got. And I think and I think that's traumatizing. So, like, yeah, even if she got with him, in my opinion, for an opportunistic reason, that doesn't mean that she was deserving of the violence that came with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one signs up for that. And where I'm also going with is, I think originally when she got with him back on the show, I think she was thinking, my marriage troubles are so behind me. He's now marrying a different girl. Like, I don't think my past is going to come back to haunt me. And then I think her watching Sweet Tea go through everything she went through, I think that re-traumatized her a lot. And then all of a sudden, something that was supposed to be funny and, like, just banter and roasting and, like, you know, almost, like, you know, something that's, like, kind of lighthearted but dark humor, just never took off. Like, you know, like, Sweet Tea doesn't have a humor bone, like, doesn't have a funny bone. Dr. Craig is still kind of a piece of work, and Quad is watching this happen, and it's like, it's stirring up all those feelings of how, you know, like, how bitter and mad she has every right to feel. But yeah, I just want to say that when people talk about like, oh, I always like, no one, like, I always took the abuse allegations seriously when nobody else did, blah, blah, blah. I think everybody took the abuse allegations seriously. I think it just took us a while to get there because Quad was just such a theatrical personality. We didn't really believe that the marriage was done out of love. It was done for opportunity. And then I think it was also like at the time, like every scene we got of Quad and Greg, it just at the time you couldn't tell if it was scripted or not. Like I genuinely, you could not tell if it was scripted or not, and you also couldn't tell like why Quad was reacting so harshly. Like you just knew she was, and I think in Quad's mind she was describing it as well as she could. But I remember as an audience member, like feeling a disconnect, feeling like, okay, yeah, like you feel so strongly about it, so I'm on your side, but I don't know why I'm on your side. And then once the season 6 reunion happened, that's when the audience finally was like, oh, that's why the last 2 years ended up like that. And I think by the time we were finally able to offer Quad compassion, it was like Quad and Greg were over. So yeah, I don't think the audience was ever like denying the abuse. It was also like we were just not understanding the range, if that makes sense. Alrighty, and man, we're 46 minutes into it. Let me tell you guys, I thought I would speak less. I have spoken more. But I don't want to go on and on and on, but I do need to... I did take notes, y'all. Before I end this, I need to go in on my girl, Phaedra. I need to go in on Phaedra. First of all, I love Phaedra Parks. When she was announced to be on Married2Medicine, I was excited. I love her brand of shade. I think she was revolutionary on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I was really sad to see how she goes out because Candy's one of my top 3 housewives. Phaedra Parks, you left the show bitter Betty, girl. So first of all, I think Phaedra just thought she could come on the show posing like a little Barbie in her like 40-inch wig and thinking that's it. That's all I need to do. Show my outfits, have a little funny face reactions every now and then. And I felt like she never like fully tried on the show, you know? Like I think she came on the show and thought I could just be like a funny little sidekick character and kind of like regain my popularity, you know, regain a little bit of fan support and then dip. But I think the Married2Medicine girls, like, I love them because I always feel like they just react very, like, they never go with, I just don't think they react the way you would, where other reality stars would react. They react just so authentically. And so I think the entire cast was like, no. You talk big money all the time. You talk about how you're shady this and you're work, like you're this big girl, a big deal, you know, all of this. And like, you're not just going to come onto our show, capitalize off of us, but then not invest anything into our show. Like, we're not like, I think Married2Medicine is like, we're not like the ugly sister next to Real Housewives of Atlanta. And like, you're not doing us a favor. Like, we're doing you a favor because you got yourself kicked off there. So you need to earn your place here. We're not supposed to kiss the ground you walk on because you're gracing us. And I think it was a little bit of a clash on that. And I kind of like the fact that like Married2Medicine is like, you can't, like, it is not a weak cast. Like you can't punk them that easily. And on top of that, they kept punking Phaedra. Like, I think like with the Med Gala, like I think the girls were like, you talk big money, we want to see big money. I also think that, like, one of the reasons why they pulled Apollo in is because it was like, girl, you're giving us nothing. You're not talking about any of the jobs you're doing. You're not talking about dating life. Like, you're not really giving us anything. Everything is so surface level here on this show. Like, like, until you actually want to engage with us and put us in our place, we're going to keep pushing your buttons to see if we can move off of this superficial vibe that you're bringing and do anything to, you know, like, bring out the real Phaedra. They were pushing her buttons on purpose. Mind you, what they weren't expecting is that Candy Burruss, the longest running housewife, is all of a sudden gonna leave Real Housewives of Atlanta in the middle of their season, and then Phaedra finally gets the reason to dip and give him the middle finger. No, they weren't expecting that. But on top of that, the way that Phaedra went out is so freaking sad. The reason why she was like, all these girls are mean girls and all this. No, this cast just is is serious, real deal. Like they are professional pros at reality TV. They've done your job longer than you've done your job. Like, yeah, you might have thrived in the cast of Real Housewives of Atlanta, but it's not like they were like doing community theater on the side and you guys were doing Broadway. No, they were on the same street as you. So I think that, like, for her to undermine the cast and just call them mean girls and stuff like that, like, yeah, this cast was hazing you, but I think that was because you came on as such a big name that, like, they thought you could, like, they want to see if you really could handle it, if you were really everything they say that you are. And that you say that you are. And what I kind of love about this cast is that they're not even bothering Phaedra. They're like, you know what? You want to talk about mean girls? They know what to do. They have been tag teaming Portia on Watch What Happens Live. And they're like, oh yeah, remember her, your bestie? Well, you've never jumped in to defend her in the past every time she's taking your bullets. Round 2, girl. And they have been calling Portia the meanest girl, all of this, because they know, once again, Phaedra's going to sit silent and let Portia catch all those strays. I love this cast, because you know what? At the end of the day, they're playing chess. They're always playing chess. They're just, they're incredible. I love them. And yeah, I think the other downside about having Phaedra on the cast, though, is I think this cast was, like, so focused on trying to activate her. And I think they were, like, also, like, a little passive about seeing how the sweet tea and quad drama would unfold. That, like, I felt like the OGs didn't really step up like they normally do, like Toya and them, to create entertainment. That I do think this show was a little stale. And then on top of it got dark really quickly between Greg and King that they weren't expecting. So yeah, I don't think this is one of the best Married to Medicine seasons. However, it's definitely, I've noticed a turning point in the show. I feel like the fans have changed. I feel like a lot of the history and context is starting to lose, and I'm starting to see narratives be rewritten. And so ultimately, even if you might not agree with my position on all 3 of the points I have given, I hope that I've at least presented some strong enough counter arguments that you can see, like, okay, I see where you're coming from. So first of all, just to wrap up this story, conclusion, 1, Simone is right. Quad doesn't try with the cast, and she needs to put more effort into making more genuine friends on the show, like she once upon a time had. And then also Simone needs to let it go. Like, it's not your job to make sure Quad gets the message anymore. At this point, Quad is either going to continue playing dumb, or Quad is going to rise to the occasion. Stop beating a dead horse. Second point, Mariah Huq, She was, while Simone nailed her to the coffin, she herself did a lot of independent damage. Third point, Quad and Greg. I understand why Greg was added into the show. As a producer, it seemed like reality TV goldmine. On top of that, like, perceptions of Quad and Greg was always like, we took the relationship lighthearted until we realized how dark it was behind the scenes. And it really sucks to see that Greg just blatantly treated Sweet Tea like that, Quad had to re-experience that. That's, the show's never that serious to put somebody in that position. And then lastly, Phaedra girl. The cast isn't Mean Girls. You just thought you can run circles around them, and you just can't. These girls, they're professionals, they're seasoned. They've been making great reality TV for the last 10 seasons. You know, season 11, we'll see how it pans out. It might not be the best, but by far, it's not the worst. It's not the worst by any means. So, you should have known to show up and give these girls their flowers and rise to the occasion and put in the effort that they do. So, yeah.